Good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. So I picked out a song that I think might be a good way to start us out on our morning. Let me see if I can get it up here. I know I have it somewhere. And this is Gary Lynn Floyd. I'm just showing sound because it's not video. So can you hear that?
Sunshine, your eyes, dewdrops, fireflies. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your voice, waterfall, sparrow song, coyote call. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Yeah. Your hug, sweet kiss, holding hands in blind bliss. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 The shadows I conceal, endeavor to reveal another part of me, embracing all that I perceive. Cut grass, jasmine bloom, honeysuckle, your room. I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm so grateful I'm alive. I saw your comment, Nan, that you find yourself walking around the house singing that. I love that. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that wakes us up. We'll start out with a bunch of gratitude. And Lissa,
Yes,
would you like to say a few words and pray us in
I would.
as our practitioner of the day?
Yes, yes. Well, that's a perfect song. I'm so grateful I'm alive because that's kind of a part of what I experience these days. I'm happy I've reached this age that I'm able to do all the reading and investigation and feed my curiosity for knowledge because I have the time now that I'm not, not working, not focused on the outside world that much. So anyway, that's why I'm happy I'm alive. But at any rate, today we're talking about trust, about trusting the larger life. And I want to start with the fact that I think that Michelle has given us the opportunity to bring us to that space by virtue of, for me at any rate, the talk that she gave, I think it was at home on presence. I don't know, but that just filled me up so much that I really had begun much more experiencing the presence of that higher power and seeing it show up in different places, and that embodiment of the ocean and the wave also always stays with me in terms of that it's all one thing, and yet each wave is different and individualized from the whole and returns to the whole. So at any rate, I like that part. And so anyhow, this week, because I was thinking about that, I began to think about also other faiths who practice this trust in their own way. And it's like I was exposed to different things that made me think of that. One was on PBS. They had a repeat of Henry Gates' program on the Black church and gospel music, and I thought about how with the Black church, this safety that they felt within the presence and this expectancy of freedom is very much the same thing, that relying on spirit is what it was about. And then another thing that I saw this week was a rather dark series, that is, I forgot what the name of it is now. Dark Night, I think. At any rate, it's a Native American thing based on one of Tony Hillerman's books and produced by, what's his name? The Sundance guy, Robert Redford. And that's why I was watching it, because of those two people. But it is dark. However, within this one particular segment, it had to do with the Native American um, rituals and expectations, and how they live with spirit and how spirit informs their rituals. And I think that's the thing. Spirit informs our rituals, and it informs the rituals of everybody who is practicing spirit, who really is trusting in spirit. And so I began to look at all religions in that way, and how people who are what I would say are true Christians follow Jesus, and they really believe that he is the one, and that he is God. And so, it's sort of like these beliefs are somewhat different than trust. It's like, first of all, you find what you believe, and then as you work with whatever the form of celebration that faith requires, as you work with that, if you really keep working with it in that internal way, then I think you come to that place of real trust, so that you can be like that lady that I think we all read about, who had answered the door to a woman who was all bloody and but for some reason felt the vibration that this was not a person who should come into her house, and turned her away. I'm sure everybody could feel that instant what, but it was like her inner trust allowed her to see this, and subsequently she learns this woman went next door and killed the whole family. So I think about that, and then I also think about the Sonia Choquette, who who just lives on trust all the time. But the one thing that stood out to me, which I think I've mentioned before, was that she was driving to work or somewhere and suddenly realized she needed to take a detour. And she didn't know why, but when she took the detour, she found a toddler who was out in his diaper in a cold, a winter Chicago. And so he, escaped. So anyway, that's kind of like the piece about those kind of things and trusting. And then the other thing that I was exposed to today, which really tied me to our teachings, was that I watched a tape of Gilbert Mate where he talked about the 7 kinds of trauma, 7 kinds of trauma, or in a sense. I think I can't remember what he called it, but at any rate, that are related to health. And I won't give you all of them, but I thought that it was really, the one that really struck me was the last one, which was essentially, I want to say it right, having to do with the most immunization patterns and inflammation, but the most significantly seen cause of these various health conditions was the quality of relationship to the self. Chronic self-judgment and relentless self-criticism. It really triggers the immune pattern and inflammation, and genuine self-compassion can heal. And I felt, isn't that what SOM teaches?
Yeah.
That the wholeness we are born with is out of our connection to a higher power that we call God or spirit or source. And it seems like we just have to recognize it and work to recognize it so that then we're able to see the wholeness of who we really are and not the one that we've been beating ourselves up with. That isn't the truth. So anyway, from that space, let's go into prayer. So let's take a nice deep breath and recognize that we are holy beings created by and of love, abundance, peace, joy. And our destiny, if life's experiences have made us doubt this, is to learn the truth, to really work on recognizing how divine we really are, and to allow the sense of needing to conform or whatever has held us back from being who we really are, to be able to let it go, to be able to say, I am. And what follows the I am is I'm a holy person. I am God. I am joy. I am, and not the other words that we often say to ourselves that we beat our own selves up in ways that other people never would. And so knowing this, I know that each and every one of us is blessed by the Spirit to be able to recognize these wonderful gifts that are inside each of us. And so I know that we have the opportunity to express that in the world in the way that we love ourselves. Then we can love other people, and we can love even the mean and nasty ones. And so I release my word, knowing it is so, and we can release it together by saying, and so it is. And our affirmation for this month, I am made for this moment, and this moment is made for me. The life of God lives fully and freely as me. Whatever appears before me, I meet with wisdom, courage, and love. I trust the presence within me to reveal the way. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you,
That's a
Lisa.
great affirmation. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Oh, well, thank you for that. That was beautiful. And this is Eddie Watkins Jr. And it's a video. It's actually, I think he's at Mile High, but I couldn't find it just as an audio. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just share this performance of his. And it talks about really the choice between fear and love, basically. And uh, I'll I'll let you enjoy it. Can you guys all hear it? Hear it okay?
Just before you say something you can't take away, take a breath, then let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what will love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what would love do? Sing it from inside with me, y'all. What would love do now? Let me hear you sing it, people.
What would love do now?
Sing it one more time for me, y'all.
What would love
Do now. Thank you.
What would love do now? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Oh, I loved being able to see him and to actually watch him rather than just hear his audio. So I thought that was really, really kind of fun. So good morning again, beautiful people of One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. You know, and whether you're here in the Zoom room with us, there's a few of us here today, or you're listening to the replay, I just trust that something that you hear or feel in this service will, enhance and uplift and benefit your life in some way, because that's why we're all here together. And as Lissa said, this morning's talk is Trust the Larger Life. And, as I was putting together today's message, I couldn't help but think of our dear friend Yvonne. I think it's been about a year or so since she made her transition, maybe a little more now. And we all know that in her later life, she began to have some cognitive issues. She would forget things, and she'd get flustered, and she'd have unexpected emotional responses. But here's the thing, there was always something unshakable about Yvonne. She always, without fail, 100% of the time, trusted life. It was really where she lived. And it was kind of her, to use a sports metaphor, it was kind of her home field advantage, if you will. She lived from trust, and life met her there. Things had a way of always working out for her. Her life wasn't perfect all the time, but solutions to challenges and unexpected situations always seemed to show up just when she needed them. And she was always there to remind all of us that trust is our willingness to rest in the awareness of the larger life, the larger, wiser, and something that's more whole than our present perspective can really perceive or know. Our human perception doesn't see all the possibilities within the infinite mind of God. And last month we spent the whole month talking about this wholeness, the wholeness of the larger life. We spoke of wholeness as something foundational, something that is really kind of the ground of all being. We spoke about our freedom to participate in the qualities of wholeness, of love and peace and beauty, abundance, wisdom. And it's in this wholeness that we place our trust, which is what Lissa was talking about. We trust that beneath all of our individual human experiences, there's a larger life of spirit, a life that's always moving toward a greater expression of good, of love. Knowing we know we're trusting in something that's not some distant force off somewhere, separate from ourselves. It's the very life that's in us. It's right here, right now. We can all feel it. And because we're expressions of this larger life, we're not merely passive observers of what's happening. We participate. We participate through our attention, through our intention, through our choices, through what we hold in consciousness. We all know consciousness precedes all form. We participate in the field of infinite possibility from which all expressions of life emerge, from the larger life. And our trust is not that we always know exactly what's going to happen. Our trust is in life itself, in the intelligence that's larger than our own human perspective, and in the understanding that life is always moving towards that greater expression of good. Rob always likes to remind me that I say God's always got our back, because good is always being expressed, even if we can't see it in the moment. We don't have to know how everything will unfold. We don't have to see the whole picture. Yvonne rarely did, but our part is to remain open and to listen and to choose consciously and to participate in what life is revealing right in front of us at the moment. Because what we see from our human perspective is not all that's possible. We don't know what we don't know. Trust is not closing our eyes and hoping. Trust is opening our awareness to more than we can currently see. Even, because we don't see the whole picture. I don't know all that God knows. I can't fathom what is in the infinite mind. But we trust that life is moving and still expressing and still revealing itself. And that its deepest level, life is always moving towards that greater expression of love. I trust that. So I ran across this story that I thought, this actually sums it up pretty well. It's a story from a woman named Susan Salzberg. I will not be able to remember all these details, so I'm going to read it. It's from a book that she wrote called Faith. And she tells a story about a picture book that she received for her 40th birthday. And she opened it and she saw this abstract red pointy shape. And she turned the page, and then this red abstract pointy shape became the comb of a colorful rooster. And okay, she thought, this book is about a rooster. But then the next page showed children looking out a farmhouse window at the rooster. Oh, I see. She thought it's about children on a farm. But then the children in the farmhouse became part of a miniature village being arranged by a little girl. Oh, now I understand. It's about a little girl. Except the little girl turned out to be a part of a picture on the cover of a book being held by a boy. And it kept going. The boy was on an ocean liner. The ocean liner became a part of a billboard on the side of a bus. The bus appeared on a television screen being watched by a cowboy in the desert. The television scene became a picture on a postage stamp, which was on a postcard being held by people standing on an island. And finally, the island was seen from a small airplane. The perspective kept widening until she saw the earth itself in this beautiful globe floating in infinite space. And then even the earth became a distant point of life. And here's the part I like best. She looked at her friend and said, I feel like God. I think that's a great story. I feel like God. And isn't that the point? We share the creative nature of God, and we create our experience from what we hold to be true from our human perspective. From the perspective, but our human perspective is incapable of knowing the vastness of infinite possibility. But we can remain open to it because we are still one with it. And you notice that at every stage, the woman was certain that she understood the whole picture, but she was only seeing one perspective within something that is infinitely larger. That's us. We see the moment. We see the circumstance. We see the problem and we think, oh, this is what's happening. But what if we're seeing only one frame in a much larger picture of life? Again, I say trust is opening our awareness to more than we can currently see. Isn't that what trust is? I trust that life's got my back. Trust isn't just some lofty philosophical idea either. It's a way of living, just like our dear friend Yvonne modeled for us through her own life and her own behavior. Trust is lived in ordinary, everyday moments. We become aware of where we're putting our attention and how we feel, and we ask ourselves, is this where I want to live? Because as practitioners of science of mind, we know that where we put our attention, what we think and feel, is powerfully creative. I mean, Ernest Holmes, our founder, taught that life responds to us in the way we approach it. He said we should choose what we want to experience, and through our consistent attention, take on all its characteristics. He actually wrote, let us choose to be identified with power, with love and beauty, with peace and happiness. And let us identify ourselves with abundance and success. Do we trust the larger life of God? Do we believe that it's available to us? Those are the questions that I have to stop and ask myself. Oh, wait a minute. Do I trust the larger life? This is the actual everyday practice of trust. We really do begin by practicing awareness. And the best way I know how to do that is to notice how we feel. How we feel is just such a good indicator of the thoughts we're thinking, because our thoughts always have a corresponding feeling. I was thinking our feelings are kind of like our car dashboard, where one of those indicator lights pops up, trying to tell us what's going on in the car. Our indicator feeling light is giving us information about where our attention has gone. Am I contracted? Am I feeling fearful or defensive or controlling or caught in scarcity? I can notice that. Oh, I've moved into protective mode or a fear-based way of thinking. I don't have to criticize myself. I just have to become aware of it. The criticism just makes it worse. If I'm feeling love, though, I'm feeling compassion and peace and abundance and gratitude, joy. then I know I'm in an open state, in a powerful, loving state of trust, aware of that presence that's always there. And I really think that that's kind of the first piece of trust, is really being able to notice, to become aware of how I feel. And that's our starting point for developing an everyday kind of moment to moment trust. Lately I've been reading a book by David Bayer. It's called A Changed Mind. And in his book, Bayer introduces a concept that's actually not new at all. Are they ever? They're usually been taught for centuries. But he explains it in a way that kind of makes it seem very deeply applicable to our contemporary day-to-day lives. He says that there are only two states of being: primal states or powerful states. He says that powerful states, as I said, are love-based states. They feel good. States like joy and compassion, and curiosity, connection. I love that feeling of connection, of happiness and inspiration, calm and peace. Peace is always so spacious to me. And then there's primal states like anger and stress and overwhelm and frustration, jealousy, boredom. Yeah, I don't know how anybody could be bored in life. Depression, these are fear-based states. They don't feel so good. And we're always in one state or another, and we can't be in two states at the same time. And we can check in with ourselves at any time. Is this a powerful state or is this a primal state? And the primal state says, I have to figure out what's going on here. My life depends on me taking care of this. And a powerful state is really a state of trust. It says there's a power for good in the universe that is greater than we are, and we can use it. Who said that? And this idea of there only being two states is not different or new. Ernest Holmes frequently spoke about thinking from either limitation or possibility. He said there's no limit to what the mind of God can hold, and there should be no limit to what we can hold in our own thoughts. A Course in Miracles reduces our human experience to two fundamental thought systems: fear or love. It makes this really bold statement that says the opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. And in the larger life, and that's true, we don't experience fear in the larger life. I doubt seriously that once we're out of our human experience, our time and space experience, that we experience a lot of fear. But we live in a world where we experience opposites. And, this whole idea of two states of consciousness is articulated by many different teachers. Eckhart Tolle calls it the two states. He calls them, what did he say? He said presence. So we're in that presence of the all that is, versus identification with thought. So thoughts that don't feel so good is what I took that to mean. Essentially, he's teaching that we can either be identified with our thinking or become aware of thoughts and feelings from the larger consciousness. And this is the larger life I've been talking about. The Buddha spoke about the mind that grasps and resists, and the mind that can simply be present with what is. I like that idea, can simply be present with what is. This is a powerful way to understand trusting the larger life, to approach what's happening in the moment and how we feel without going into resistance, just to be aware of the moment, and that we're empowered to decide how we want to shift and participate with the larger life, because we can. We can shift. You remember that exercise that Rob taught us a long time ago about moving into a state of joy and then expanding and expanding? We're a choice about how we choose to feel and where we choose to put our attention. I read about a forest monk, and he was a teacher named Ajahn Chong. And he asked his students one day when they passed this, they were walking and they passed this great big boulder. And he asked the student, do you think the boulder's heavy? And the student said, oh, yes, that boulder's extremely heavy. And then Ajahn Chong said, only if you try to pick it up. So for me, that's a great reminder that we're a choice about what we decide to pick up, what we decide to carry within us or with us. We're a choice about how we want to think and feel. And we can always ask ourselves, what quality of the larger life do we want to embody here? I'm always trying to think of metaphors or visuals of this idea. And I thought about, actually, I read this little thing that made me start thinking about the continental divide. In Colorado, there's this ridge running through the mountains. And if raindrops land on one side of that ridge, then they start this journey toward the Atlantic Ocean. But if the raindrop lands just inches away on the other side, it begins this journey towards the Pacific Ocean. Same rain, same mountain, same tiny drop of water, but the difference of only a few inches determines which ocean it eventually reaches. And it's very much the same as the choices we make. Every day and every moment we stand on our own kind of continental divide. Something happens and there's this moment where we get to choose where we want to put our attention, what story we want to tell about it, and we can move toward fear and uncertainty and lack and the need to control, or we can turn towards possibility and peace and trust in the moment. And the difference may seem kind of inconsequential when we're right in the thick of it, but just one thought, just one choice and one response, and we're going to continue in that direction, and the entire flow of our lives begins to follow that. I mean, we can always change and think again and fall on the other side of the great divide, but when we start that process, then things start to unfold. And, we don't always get to choose what comes to us, what we encounter. I mean, we do have some choice, but we always have a choice about what we let our consciousness flow with. So, maybe the question isn't what's happening to me, but what am I going to put my attention on? Where am I going to place my trust? Am I placing my trust in what I see right now in front of me, which feels kind of scary and uncertain? Or am I placing my trust in the larger life, and in the intelligence, the possibility, and the love that are greater than what I can see? We become aware of how we feel. We look for those indicator lights on our dashboard. We notice where our attention is and what state we're living from. And then we are a choice. Is this fear or is this love? Just like Eddie Watkins' song, What Would Love Do Here? Does it feel good here? And if it doesn't, we can consciously realign with a loving, creative, powerful thought, followed by, which gets followed up by a feeling. Does this feel good? And from this place of choice, we can participate with the larger life. It's love, it's creative law. And I kind of think that participation is less about doing something and more about just kind of becoming available, because the larger life actually naturally flows through us. And I think that was the lesson that we learned from Yvonne. I think we participate in the larger life through our non-resistance. When we stop insisting that life look a certain way before we're willing to trust it. We don't have to approve of everything that happens, but we don't have to pretend that pain isn't painful, and we don't have to stop taking action. We simply stop fighting the fact that this is the moment that's here. And when we're not fighting what is, I should say, something opens, and we start becoming available to what is possible. We become available to information that we don't even have yet, and to possibilities that we've never considered, solutions that haven't even come into our conscious awareness, that we haven't, from our original perspective, from the encounter with whatever it is, we didn't even imagine were possible. When we when we move into that state of non-resistance, we become available to that larger life. Not to force life to conform to our plans, but just to be open enough to discover what life is revealing, and that there's always something more. I hope that makes sense. Just trusting the larger life. It's kind of like living with an open hand or an open heart or an open mind. We notice where we are, and then we choose what we want to embody, and then we make space for what's possible in God. We release our need to know the whole picture, and our need to control the outcome, and our need to make life conform to our expectations. And in that space, we really do become available, less concerned about having all the answers, and really more willing to just listen, because it has been my experience that when I do listen, I'm guided. Things show up, and I have to be willing to be guided, though. And that's when we discover that we can move through uncertainty without being defined by it. This challenge doesn't have to define me. This situation, I am learning that day to day through my interactions with my husband, as his Parkinson's dementia expresses itself in new ways. That I don't have to be defined by this, that I can be held within something greater. Because, let's remember, the larger life isn't something outside of us that we have to find or convince to help us. It's the life that's moving through us right now. What we're trusting isn't happening out there somewhere. We're one with the wholeness that is taking place right where we are. And that's where we place our trust. It's right where we are. Life living and expressing through us. We don't have to see the whole picture to trust the whole. We can trust that there is more here than we can see from our human perspective, more possibility than we could possibly imagine, more love than we can possibly comprehend. We don't have to know the way. We only have to take the next step, and remain open to what's possible, and let life meet us there, because it does support us. Trust is this conscious willingness to rest in the awareness of the larger life, to the wiser, the more whole than our human perspective often can embody all by itself. So that's where we rest today, in that wholeness of the larger life, in the greater perspective. Let's just take a breath there. And I'm just going to say that I know that God is all there is. The larger life, the wholeness of God is all that is. And we are part of it. We are one with it. It is the allness of our being. And I speak my powerful word that each and every one of us trusts that life, and it flows through us unencumbered. It flows through us freely. And we accept that guidance, that love, and that larger perspective. And we simply say thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We rest in its peace. And together we say, and so it is. Let's just take a breath there. I actually think I'm doing the conscious giving today. I'm pretty sure. I didn't actually look, but I'm pretty sure. So I will do that. Let's see. I'm going to share. You guys, we all know, and thank you. I just recently got a flood of donations. I got some in the mail. I got a bunch on Venmo, and I want to thank everybody who continues to support our center and allows us to be a light in the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I'm not going to share the ways to give, because obviously we all know. So, but I am going to share our sacred giving affirmation. So let's take a breath and imagine that you are holding the the gift that you have given this center, that with your entire heart, we say together, with gratitude, I give freely and joyfully. Spirit is my source and supply. Abundance is within me, around me, and flowing through me. What I give is a blessing, and I am blessed in the giving. I trust the flow. I'm open to receive. I live in Spirit's plenitude, and so it is. I really like that word, plenitude. I know Michael Beckwith uses it a lot, but it just sounds so plentiful and plenitude. Such a great sound. All right. I just want to say, let's see, I'm going to put it on gallery so I can see all your faces. There we go. We have our prayer group on Monday. And on Tuesday, we're doing, I think it's chapter 6 of Radical Compassion. And even though a lot of the book is what we already know, we have the best discussions. So even if you're not reading the book, I encourage you to pop on and join in the discussion, because we are just loving each other up in those moments of discovery. And it's really a lot of fun. We end up talking about everything. And about just spiritual principles in general and supporting each other in our lives. It's a wonderful time. So I encourage you to do that. And then, on Wednesday evening, I think you probably all got her email. Relaine sent out an email about the Wednesday evening joyful expectancy of being me. And she's talking about light and illumination, which sounds really interesting. So I'll send out an email or a Zoom link for that. However, if for some reason you don't get it, or I forget to do it, or whatever, it's always the prayer link. So if the Monday evening prayer link comes to you, it's that same link for Wednesday. So just know that it's always in the e-newsletter as well. So with that, I found this lovely video from Daniel Nahmod that I'm going to share with you. I thought, I hadn't seen it. I'd heard this song before, but I'd never seen the video, and I thought it was quite lovely. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. Hopefully we can all see it. You guys hear it?
What do I do if I'm not chasing anything? What do I do if I've got everything that I need? It's a question that no one's prepared me to answer. Where do I go if I'm right where I'm supposed to be? Where do I go if wherever I am home? It's a question I'm presently wanting to answer. If the usual way doesn't work for me now, it's a void I know nothing about. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over, what then? What do I say if it's all perfect anyway? What do I say if I'm not here to change anyone? It's a question I truly don't know how to answer. How do I live if my life is eternity? How do I live if I'm no longer afraid to die? It's a mystery, no one can give me an answer. If the usual way doesn't work anymore,
There's no map for what life has in store. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over, what then? What is the purpose of time here on earth? How do I now define my death and birth? For that matter, what is my life really worth in the end? What's mine to give and what's mine to receive? Whom do I worship? What do I believe? Seems every answer comes right back to me in the end. What if the race is over and we all automatically win? What if the game is ended long before it even begins? What if the test has been taken and we're all passing again and again? If the race is over and we're all born victorious, if the race is over, what then?
Ah, I love that idea. What if we've already taken the test and we've all passed again and again? I love that idea. It's like, yeah, we're all victorious. We don't have to stress. I liked that idea of it all comes back to me in the end and what I perceive. Anyway, I ran across that kind of last minute and I thought, oh, that's perfect. I'm going to share that. All right, I am going to, my friends, stop the recording.